First of all, we had Chasin That Neon Rainbow, Chattahoochee, Someday, Who Says You Can't Have It All, and A House With No Curtains.
All right, we are here for a real special episode of Drifting Cowboy podcast because I'm here with three of my good friends. Holiday here is a sit-in because we were supposed to have Keith Stegall with us, but as I told Jim outside, it's hard enough to get two songwriters in the same room, much less three. So we're lucky to have two of y'all here. But I'm so glad y'all came, Jim. Thank you for making the drive up, and Roger, we appreciate y'all for coming.
Absolutely, we're so glad to be here. Well,
it's an honor, and I'm proud to have been able to call you two friends for a long while now, and y'all are two.
And we've been calling each other friends for longer than that.
1970, probably.
Longer than I've been alive.
At least 55 years, yeah.
Yeah, Jim and I, we really kind of sprang from a similar fountain of writers in Alabama.
Yeah.
And Jim taught me some things, and I may have taught him something too, I don't know. But he certainly taught me. One thing I most remember, Jim, is you taught me how to dig deeper for lyrics. And I think early on I was probably a little quicker to settle, and but I learned from Jim.
Then you got better than me.
But it's been we've enjoyed a kind of a parallel journey.
We sure have.
Do you all remember when you met? Do you remember the first time you were physically together?
Do you, Jim?
It would have to be right around 1970. When did the studio down in Huntsville open?
Shoot, I can't remember.
Roger's a good deal older than me. He's 5-6 months. He's 5-6 months older than me.
Oh, you crazy!
I would say right around 1970.
Okay.
And I was writing with this young guy. I was just kind of fooling around with. His name was Aaron Wilburn, and he introduced me to the studio, and that's where Roger was. And a little later on, it's where Earl Thomas Conley was, and Nelson Larkin, who produced Earl, and Toby Keith, and Nelson was quite successful. I was the last one to move up here.
Yeah.
But we met about 55 years ago.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yep.
So I'll go to each of you. I'll start with you, Jim. Just tell the audience, list off some of your hits just so they can get an idea.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'll start with Alan's. We had, first of all, we had Chasin That Neon Rainbow. We had Chattahoochee, Someday, Who Says You Can't Have It All, and A House With No Curtains. We had Stuart Harris and I had Waylon's last number one. With Rose in Paradise, which is my most recorded song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And early on, Roger and I, our first hit was A Bridge That Just Won't Burn by Conway Twitty. Then I had a number one with Bet Your Heart on Me. Then Roger had a number one, or maybe vice versa, with Southern Rains. And, there's 2 or 3 Wade Hayes things. I've had around 200 songs cut, and I remember when you said one time, I believe to get in the Hall of Fame, you got to have at least 200 songs cut.
Are you kidding?
I remember you said that. And,
I don't know.
Yeah. So
I was
anyway,
lying because I didn't know.
You were just well, I'll tell you something else you said in a minute. But I've had 24.
Easy.
24 members of the Country Music Hall of Fame have recorded my songs.
Wow.
And a lot of them were on albums. But gosh, during the 90s, you get a song on anybody's album, you get a gold record, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Roger told me along about 86, it had kind of gone into that Never Never Land of not hard country. Not real. Anyway, he said, I think if we can hang on, this was about 86. He said, I think if we can hang on, it's going to get better. I don't know why you thought that, but the next year's when Randy Travis hit. And then in 89, it got a lot better.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying, I think if we can just hang on. Because I got to tell you, at one point I had songs on 14 albums, and I couldn't get a single because every song I had on that album was a country sing on the album, probably. And I'm looking at the chart, and I go, I can't. And nobody was selling any records except George Strait in Alabama and Kenny Rogers. That was about it.
Yeah.
Were a lot of those ballads?
A lot of them were ballads.
See, that has been a big problem.
That's my forte. Yes.
Yeah.
They want upbeat. They want upbeat. We want upbeat, positive.
Yeah.
And it's like, I cannot believe to this day that my 3 biggest songs were all upbeat songs. That's not me. And two of them were with Alan, and that's not Alan either.
Yeah.
We love sad old country ballads. That's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
So I listen to you some too.
Thank you, brother.
We're going to talk a lot more about Alan, but I want to move on to you, Roger, and let you just list out some of the many great songs you've written.
Well, as Jim mentioned, our first hit was Conway Twitty. And Conway went on to cut some other songs of mine. But let me see, maybe a couple of more singles, I'm not sure.
Goodbye Time, I'll help you.
Goodbye Time, yes. Golly. Goodbye Time. So I may be older than you, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to
I
help
can't
you all I
remember
can,
anything.
Raj.
Boy, if I forget Goodbye Time, I don't know what I'll do. But I was fortunate enough to write with Alan on Don't Rock the Jukebox. He and Keith Stegall and I. And then Alan and I wrote a song of his called True Love is a Golden Ring, which was an album cut. We had a big Al Jarreau cut that Keith and I had. It was international hit. We're in this love together. Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, High Cotton, I'm in a Hurry, Don't Know Why.
Southern Star.
Oak Ridge Boys, Ozark Mountain Jubilee, Takes a Little Rain to Make Love Grow. I had about 6 singles on those guys. And just a bunch of others. I tell you, the Nashville's been good to me. I've been very fortunate. And Jim and I both. And we were a couple of hayseeds from Alabama. And I used to tell Curly Putman that we were little Curlies wanting to grow up.
Oh, gosh.
And he loved that, and that's what we did. Jim would bring his songs to Curly Putman, who wrote Green Green Grass Home,
Oh, yeah.
among other things.
He stopped loving her today.
He stopped loving her today, golly. And so we've both had bunch of big hits.
Yeah.
Been very fortunate.
Yes.
So what got you into songwriting and got you to move to Nashville?
Well, early on, I really got in the business to be a singer. And, in those early days, I was wanting to be the next Elvis,
Right.
And that's still as funny today as it was then, But I had a little band, and we actually had some limited success in North Alabama, because what was unique about us was we were all white guys singing R&B music. My background is R&B. I love R&B, still love it, but was able to incorporate it into country, which helped me kind of be unique in what I was doing melodically. And but I got into sing, and quite honestly, I couldn't remember the lyrics, so I'd make up my own lyrics. And it gave me a sense about hearing what lyrics sounded good with melody and things like that. It actually worked to my good. And then my daddy traded an old pickup for an upright piano, and I learned how to play by ear, and along with my sister and one brother. But I've learned through the years, I wasn't very good at piano, but it was a very melodic instrument. I worked with Wurlitzer, which was made famous by Ray Charles and a bunch of R&B acts. But I learned that it was good that I didn't know a lot about the instrument, because it kept my stuff simple.
Right.
And I used to have a piano player in a band, and I tried to write with him a couple of times, and he'd want to put every chord he knew in the song.
Yeah.
And even then, I knew that wasn't right. So anyhow, I started writing my simple songs and kind of went from there. And kind of backed into the writing, and it took off.
Yeah.
And I like to say I didn't have time to do the artist thing. It gives me an excuse, but it's true. But I was looking back, it went just the way it should have gone.
Yeah.
I would not want to have been on the road. I didn't really want that. I just thought I did.
Yeah. What about yourself, Jim? How'd you get into writing and end up in Nashville?
You know, I just always loved listening to country music on the radio. We didn't even have a TV the first 7 years of my life. And so I grew up listening to all that. And I remember my mother crying the day Hank Williams died. I was 6 years old. But I wrote a song when I was 12 years old. I was in the 6th grade. And I changed the lyrics to Davy Crockett. I used the melody. And I wrote a song about Billy the Kid. So that was at 12 years old. So I didn't think any more about it. I wrote some poetry, but the hood I grew up in, you did not tell them you wrote poetry. They wouldn't let you play with them anymore. I mean, you just didn't. You know, and that's the mindset I had then. But I graduated high school, didn't go to college, and I'm working in this place, diodes, and in this little. They were doing PC boards out in the floor. The women were, and they'd come and get diodes and whatever else they would. And these song ideas started coming, and I couldn't even play guitar, so I got my uncle, who played guitar, and he showed me. I'm like Roger. He showed me. The first song I learned was "May You Never Be Alone Like Me" by Hank Williams, 3 chords. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I only know 1 chord past the 3rd fret. Now, when I met Alan, other than the way we grew up and the singers we loved and the music we loved, he couldn't play it better than I could. He couldn't. You know.
That's a blessing.
Tell me every time you've ever heard Alan Jackson do a solo. Come on. Where he played guitar. Well, I can't say anything because that's why our songs are so simple. Mm. We may have 4 chords in some of those songs, but not for long. You know, they're probably just passing. But you know what? I say I fooled them for 33 years. You know? So anyway, it just kept getting the song idea. So I learned how to play 3 chords, G, C, and D, and a G, A, and D. I don't remember which one. Anyway, I started writing my little songs, and I taped them on a $50 Wall and Sack 2-track tape machine, which weighed about 75 pounds probably. And I set it up in my living room. Roger T. then. I set it up in my living room, and I would tape my songs and take them to Curly Putman. And the first time I saw him, he said, I think you may have it. He said, I can help you, but only if you can let me be honest with you. Can you do that? And I said, yes.
That's great.
And to be quite honest with you, I came home my tail dragging sometime because he was honest with me, but he made me better by doing that. Yeah. And then finally, it's like you pass through this portal, you don't even realize it, don't you? Mm-hmm. You're right. Now, I wrote 100 practice songs trying to write like Chris Christopherson, but I did learn alliteration from him. Anyway, one day you write this song, and it's like, yeah, okay, you finally did it. Now do it again. And the rest of them are just like learning practice songs. So I started taking them to Curly. He tried to get me to move there. Gosh. Early on.
Who else did?
You did. But I had a wife and family, and I had a job at the post office. And
you had retirement.
I had retirement.
You had a family.
Yeah, I did. So I couldn't do it. But finally, after Roger had moved to Nashville the second time and was writing for Foster and Rice, we started writing some together. And that's when I thought, I was 33 years old, and I thought, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it now. And so I got serious about it. Roger would come down to North Alabama on Sunday or Saturday, whenever, and he would stop on the way back. I lived out just south of the Tennessee line, and that's where we started A Bridge That Just Won't Burn in my living room.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
And you said if I can get a hit, I'll move.
I'll move. And he called me and he said, pack your bags. And I said, what? And he said, we've got Conway's next single. And I wasn't joking.
I'm having chills right
I
now.
turned my notice in the next day.
Wow.
And
Wow.
moved to Music Row the second day of January of '81.
That's incredible.
Yeah, people thought I was crazy. And I think we all are a little bit crazy. I mean, think about
You have
it.
to
What
be
makes you
crazy
think
to do
what
it.
makes you think somebody would want to hear your little song you wrote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, none of us are quite right. And just like singers, like what makes you think somebody wants to hear you sing? Okay, you got to tell them.
Much less.
You guys-
Go ahead.
No, you got to tell them what he wrote for Bobby Bear for a while, and I took a few songs there too. But tell them what Bobby said about the piano. You remember that story?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll try to make a long story short. But I was up here to book Bobby Bear for a J.C. County Fair in Limestone County, my hometown. And so Bobby said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm kind of in between things right now. That's what you say when you don't have anything going on. He said, do you have any songs? I said, yeah, I do. I've got one song out in the car called Send Tomorrow to the Moon. I said, it's a little pop sounding, but I'll be glad to play it for you. So I played it for him, and he said, why don't you come up here and write for me? And he gave me what was it, $50?
$50.
$50 a week draw. And I think it's a week. But also in the conversation, he asked me, he was wanting to know how much it would cost him to buy a piano for me. And I said, Bobby, he said, how much would one cost? I said, I don't know. Daddy traded a pickup truck for hours. And Bobby was playing a pinball machine. He pulled it, and he sat there a minute, and he said, how much is that pickup? How much was it worth? Or something like that. How did I get that wrong?
I think he said, how much? Well, how much?
How much is the pickup?
How much is a pickup worth? I love that story.
Yeah, it was Bobby's sense of humor.
Yep.
But actually, for Jim and me to kind of start scratching the surface with somebody like Bobby Bear, Bobby had platinum ears in those days, I'm telling you. He discovered so many people, so many songs, was the first to record many great writer songs. So anyhow, I was very, very fortunate to get my deal with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely want to talk a lot about Alan. The two of you had a whole lot to do with Alan's career. And Keith, who was going to be here with us, was a career producer. And Alan, who is retiring.
Yeah.
What a career he had.
Oh, man.
Unbelievable.
How was it? I'll start with you, Jim. How was it that you came to meet Alan?
I was writing it had formerly been April Blackwood Music. It was SBK at that point, and then later EMI, and now it's at Sony. Anyway, during the SBK years, a fellow songwriter named Charlie Craig was writing with this guy he had seen on TV. On You Could Be a Star or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And so I saw him in the office, big tall guy, blonde hair, white cowboy hat, and kind of some cheap-looking cowboy boots on. I didn't know who he was. Nobody ever introduced me, but I saw him there 2 or 3 times when he was writing with Charlie. So one day I get a phone call from him, and he said, I've seen you at the office. Would you, he told me his name, he said, would you write with me? And I said, yeah, let's get together. So at the time, the old building we were in, that 3rd floor up there, had no ventilation. So we'd open the windows, just a little bitty room, and we met up in that room, and we propped the door up. The only way you could get any air up there was to prop the door open and raise the window. So that's what we did. And there was a whole box of Chris Christopherson trophies in that 3rd floor, which was for storage mostly. We weren't even supposed to be up there. Fire marshal said no. Anyway, we get one of Chris's ACM trophies, and we prop the door open and raise a window. So we started talking about where we're from and all this and what singers we like. And he said, well, play me a song. He said, I'm familiar with your work. That's why I called you, including A Bridge That Just Won't Burn and the Keith Whitley thing and other stuff. And
What was that title? Let's get them all out there. Living Like
There's No Tomorrow. Yeah, which 4 or 5 years ago got recorded and was nominated for Bluegrass Song of the Year. Anyway,
Yes.
Keith Whitley cut it, and Alan had heard it too. So I played him Dixie Boy that I'd written for my family, and Alabama had cut it, and it was on the album of the year in 1983. And so he played me a song called Home. And in that 3 minutes it took him to sing that song, I learned two things. He was a great singer, and he was a good songwriter. And so we just kind of started in from there. And I think it was either the first or second song we wrote together was Chasin That Neon Rainbow. I had written that idea down 2 years before, but I never played out like Roger did. I couldn't even play guitar. I never done songwriter nights, anything. So he's telling me about driving all the way to Florida with his band or out to Arkansas or wherever. And he said, by the time I paid the band and gas for that old van, that old Chrysler van, Dodge or whatever it was, he said, I'm not making any money. And I said, I think I got an idea for you. Because it just sounded like, okay, this is what that idea's been waiting on, which is how it works a lot, isn't it? You may carry that idea around for years, and one day you go, oh, okay, now's the time. So anyway, that was like either our first or second song we wrote together. And so then we
Did you have the title, Chasin That Neon?
Oh, yeah, second line too. Yeah.
Okay, please let me interrupt you here. I want to say this right quick. And hold your thoughts because I want you to continue. But let me tell you guys and all your listeners, that's one of the best country songs that's ever been written.
Oh, absolutely.
When I heard it, I was just blown away. That song is revolutionary in its content. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk more about this later, but I've got to tell you, it's
Thank
one
you,
of the
Roger.
best ever.
Thank you.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I'm not just bragging because it's Jim, because it's phenomenally good
Yeah.
Well,
country music.
we were telling his story with a little bit of mine in there too.
There you go.
But we worked together so well. It was like my friend Peter McCann once said, I'm my favorite co-writer. It was almost like, and you know this, you and Keith, and you've had this experience. It's like writing with yourself.
It's amazing when you find somebody like
when you
that.
find somebody. And I've had a lot of co-writers, but only one or two others, it was kind of that way. But Alan, it was just like writing with myself.
We call it chemistry.
Chemistry.
When you
Yep.
get with a guy that you have that chemistry with, it helps you be better.
It does.
It would be that way for you guys yourselves, though. You two have had songs you've written together with everybody. Everybody's recorded songs you guys wrote together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we definitely had that.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And
To talk about one
And
of the...
what it is, though, just quickly, just popped in my head. It's a deep respect for each other, for where we're coming from.
and
I mean,
the music to make it the very best that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will edit myself to death because I one time I turned in a song and somebody didn't. They said I said something wrong. That was the last time I ever heard that. Because I might have finished it 3 or 4 days ago, but I'm still looking at it going, all right, it's not just
Guy Clark was the same way.
Yes, he was.
He was the
He'd wear it out.
ultimate critic. But, Jim, a lot of the magic's in the edit,
Yeah.
the rewrite. And I learned that from training writers as a publisher.
Yep.
And I probably became a better editor than I am a writer. And
I know you could look and say, okay, you need to look at this line again.
yeah.
You kind of settled right here.
And the benefit we had as writers is a lot of times we knew what the answer was.
Right.
Sometimes we didn't,
Yeah.
but we knew something was wrong.
Something wasn't right.
We knew it wasn't finished.
Yep. Yep.
Roger, you got
I did that, by the way, with come in here, man.
I'm so sorry.
Come here.
Keith Stegall.
Keith Stegall has come
You know,
in.
an engineer was doing a demo for me one day, just a guitar vocal of me, and he said, "Your syntax is wrong on that song." And I said, "I don't even know what syntax is," but I said, "You go back and listen to the line, and tell me if it sounds right." And he went back. He said, "Yeah, you're right." I went, "Okay, let's move on."
Keith,
What is syntax?
Keith Stegall, you rascal.
Oh, man.
we're glad you made it.
Well,
just
they kept
wake up?
changing the closing date for this place that I just bought in Berry Hill. And I kept changing the closing date. So over the course of 3 days, I've had it changed 3 times. So I
Oh,
just
wow.
completely spaced everything out. I was just,
He'll be,
Keith just bought a very historical, great studio in town called
Creative
Workshop.
Wow.
That Buzz Cason ran for
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
And so it was okay for you to be late.
oh, man.
Well, just for a little catch up here, go ahead, Keith, and tell the listeners, just list off some of the hit songs you've written.
Well, most of them I'm written with Roger.
Yeah.
So he probably told you some of them.
Well, he told some of them, but I know there's a few in there that may have not included Roger.
Oh, gosh, I don't even know.
Well, y'all wrote Dallas for
Yeah,
Alan.
second Jackson record. Is that correct? I think
Yeah, I think
Dallas
so.
and Love's Got a Hold on You, which I wrote with Carson
Yeah.
Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Well, even outside of Alan, you had Hurricane,
Yeah, that's one just keeps showing up.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, the Band of Heathens released it 2 years ago and ended up getting a gold record for it, which is
Yeah.
gold 45, which is
Yeah.
unheard of.
Wow.
You know?
Keith, didn't you say that was your first cut? And was it by the band?
It was Levon, the drummer for the band, but
Yeah.
actually my first cut was "Sexy Eyes" by Dr. Hook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever
that was
happened
your
to that?
first?
Whatever happened to it, I don't know. That unfortunately that spoiled me because I thought, boy, this is easy. This is the way this is supposed to happen. And then I met with Ron Halfkind, who was actually the manager and producer, and he goes, "Do you have any idea how big this is going to be?" And I went, "No, I don't." He
brother.
goes, "It's going to be global." And I thought, what does that mean? You know? And then somebody said, "Look, you're on the chart in Switzerland. You're on the chart in Germany.
Wow.
You're on the chart in Austria." You know, so it was just, it was wacky.
That was your first cut? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think there was some independent cuts that happened.
Yeah.
We all got those.
One that
Yeah.
yeah.
But that one was, and it
Amazing.
was on my first demo session. And I thought,
Amazing.
this is terrible. This thing will never get cut. It's cheesy and it's embarrassing, you know. And I got the call from Lynn Schultz at Capitol, and he said, I want to put this on hold and send it to Ron for Dr. Hook. And then then the rest is history, as they say. So it was just, it
Wow.
was.
And then that cut by Levon Helm, that was a very early on cut for you, though. That was
Yeah, that would have been. That
I was
would have
so
happened
jealous when I found out about that.
Oh,
I
Well,
really was.
the thing about it, which is embarrassing, is I'd never really followed the band, so I really wasn't. I wasn't aware of
one of the
Levon
best
Helm, and
groups
then all of a
ever.
sudden,
Yeah.
but because of his record, a bunch of people covered it, you know, because they thought he actually wrote it,
Yeah.
and so it was a blessing.
You cried all the way to the bank, didn't you?
It was a blessing, that's for sure.
Well, we were really just digging into the meat of what this podcast here is all about, and that's Alan Jackson and the impact that you guys have had on his career. So why don't you go ahead and tell us how it was that you came to meet Alan Jackson?
The first time I met him was at Gary Overton's office, who was actually my road manager, and he was taking a meeting with him, and I walked in. I thought, who's this big, tall guy with the cowboy hat? But anyway, so Gary introduced me. The next time was at UA Tower, and he was doing some demos. And so Gary goes, you want to go over there and see? He's working on some demos. I went, sure. So that was the next time that I met him. Then the relationship just seemed to we began to hang out at the same place, which is Marty Gamblin's office. And we were like a bunch of rats on a log, They didn't know what we were going to do, but we were all together talking about, songs. And he began to, if I would bring in a demo, he'd go, how'd you get that sound? What's that? What you got? What kind of microphones you use on that vocal? And he was constantly always asking me to go, and then he started with, well, I want you to cut some sides on me. So that was kind of the beginning. And
wow.
Then we did a demo session that had Chasin That Neon Rainbow, Wanted. I can't remember the other ones, but there was
Keith.
two of those out of that first demo session were used. Oh, Blue Blooded Woman was on that demo session.
Yeah. Let me say that right quick. I was reading an article just the other day. No, I wasn't. I was watching a video of his sisters talking, Alan Jackson's sisters. And she told the story about her loaning. One of them had $8,000 in savings, and she loaned it to Alan to cut demos.
And that was a lot of money.
Oh, wow. Goodness. It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, I know. That was a lot.
I was wondering, was that y'all's demos that she getting the money for?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because Marty Gamblin paid for that first
his
demo.
Publisher.
And our budget was $1,500.
Okay.
And he called me one night, Alan did at the house, and he goes, well, I got us some money to do these demos. And I said, really? How much we got? He goes, yeah, I think $1,500. And I went, well, we can do it. So we went into Studio 19, still can remember the players, John Kelton Engineering.
Wow.
And that was kind of the beginning. There was other stuff. But
hadn't he heard some things you had produced before?
Well, the only thing I had was Randy Travis.
That's right. That's right.
He was a big fan.
Well, that'll work.
But crazy me, I had jumped out of the production business. I actually left the Randy Travis situation because I felt guilty because I was gone so much.
You was being an artist, yeah.
And I thought, man, I can't do justice for this guy. He needs somebody that's here 24/7, So I retired from producing Randy and stayed on the road, and my bus was like, every time I went out, it was $10,000 of stuff that broke. So it just kept constantly breaking down. And I remember one night in particular, I just got back. The alternator had gone out. I thought, man. So I parked my bus at this market, the Concord Market at the intersection of Concord and Wilson Pike. And I parked the bus, and I was walking back to my house. My mailbox was out by the road. And I looked in that mailbox, and there was a big envelope. I went, wonder what that could be. I pulled it out, and it said Warner Brothers Records on it. I went, wow. So I opened it up, and there was a check in there for $13,000. I went, well, I am getting off the road, and the next time I run into somebody that I think is talented, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to see this thing through. And the next person was Alan.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Can I tell a quick Randy Travis story? Keith, Randy bought a building on 16th Avenue up towards Belmont. Keith and I were riding there one day, and Randy was on the road with Lib, his manager, of course. Well, it was cold, you remember that? And there was a fireplace in the room. We go out back and get some firewood. And we come in and start a fire. Well, the flue was closed or something. It smoked that whole. Liz was furious.
Oh,
she came back and the whole house smelled like smoke. She was furious. It's like, uh-oh. I never went back in that building. I don't know if you did.
I actually had an office there.
Yes, you did. That's where. Yeah.
Well, Roger, I can't skip over you. How was it that you came to meet Alan?
Well, actually, it was Keith. I was writing at Tom College Music, I guess.
Yep.
And were you with Tom then?
Yeah, I was.
Let's say, so we were both staff writers for Tom College, one of the greatest producers and businessmen ever on on Music Row. He taught me a lot about business, and we had a real good run as publisher and writer, and so did he and Keith. Keith went on to, I think you sold him your catalog. No, I'm sorry.
Well, at one point,
No, he owned
at one
what Tom.
point he bought it.
He owned Tom T. Hall's catalog
Yeah.
later on,
Uh-huh.
and Keith recorded
Little bitty.
Little Bitty with Alan.
Yep.
Probably paid for the doggone thing. So, but anyhow, I'm getting ahead of myself. But Keith brought him by the office and introduced me to him. This is a singer I'm working with. He's a demo singer, and that's kind of how it started, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and but we all hit it off real well, and there's so much it might pop in my head, but that's where it started.
Yeah.
Tom Collins music.
Well,
I'm sorry. I told Alan one time, I said, it's like Roger, Alan's bass player. I said, you probably should have given some writing credit on that song. It's where the title came from. But I said, and we probably should give Brent Mason some credit on Chattahoochee too. But we're not going to.
Yeah, actually, just quickly to follow up on what Jim's talking about. He's talking about Don't Rock a Jukebox. Alan had brought what he called his hook book with him. I think it was just a spiral
Yeah, it
notebook.
was. Spiral.
And he pops it out on the desk to Keith, said, see which hook we want. Keith started reading down through there and ran across Don't Rock a Jukebox. Mentioned it to me, and we both looked at each other and thought, we got something here.
yeah.
And then, honestly, our biggest objective was to stay out of the way of that song. It wrote so easily. And but when we had George Jones and Rolling Stones in it, I knew we had something special. And I think Keith, not Keith, but Alan took it on the road and worked it up with his band. He added tempo to it, which really brought us a lot of magic. And that's the way they cut it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't Alan was the one who really wanted to include the I don't have nothing against rock and roll part.
Yes. Yeah, I love telling that story. It tells you how smart Alan is. He said, I don't want to exclude anybody. Now, here he was. He didn't even have a record label, but he was already seeing himself as an act.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't want to turn anybody off. And so we started that, after that first chorus, we came in there with, I ain't got nothing against rock and roll. But when my heart's been broken, I need a song that's slow.
Wow.
So
Right.
that was Alan, his thinking, and I love that.
There were two artists I met over the years that knew exactly who they were and what they wanted to do. One of them was Travis Tritt, and the other one was Alan. He didn't have a record deal. He said, when I get a record deal, and after I've had a few albums, I'm going to do an album called Under the Influence. That was years before that.
Golly, that's great. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he already knew. He knew what he did best and what he wanted to do, and God help if you try to talk him out of it. He just knew.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking songs and the stories behind them, Jim, you got to tell us about Chattahoochee.
Okay. You talk about a surprise. I had a little house out in Green Hills, and I'd go up my little office and try to get some songs started or something every morning. And one day I got this Exxon magazine, and there was a story in there about the Chattahoochee River, which I knew. I listened in school a little bit. I knew it formed a good bit of the border between Georgia and Alabama on the east side. Plus, there was a famous poem called Sidley Lanier, Song of the Chattahoochee. So I thought, man, it's really musical. So like every good songwriter, I had an atlas, and I went and got the atlas, and I saw how close Noonan, Georgia was to the Chattahoochee River. So I had 2 notebooks at that time. Anything I thought Alan would like went in this one. Anything else went in the other. This one went in the Alan. That went in the Alan notebook. So by this time, it had, and I got the first 2 lines. Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, it gets harder than a hoochie coochie. Anyway.
Killer.
So, well, it got people's attention anyway. So by this time, we couldn't write at the office anymore, where we'd had all this time before. All of a sudden, he is booked, and he is gone. So he said, "You're gonna have to go on the road with me." I went, "Okay." So anyway, my first time out on the road with him, first night was in Tallahassee, Florida, and I said, "Let me show you this idea I got." And I said, "Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, it gets higher than the hoochie coochie." He said, "We laid rubber on the Georgia asphalt, got a little crazy, but we never got caught."
Man.
And it was like,
Golly, that's great.
so we worked on it a little bit in Tallahassee. The next night was Pensacola, worked a little bit, and then we finished it in, not Baton Rouge, but, I can't remember.
New Orleans.
No, it's a southern, it's southern Louisiana town.
Yeah.
I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway,
Sorry.
we finished it that afternoon, and he worked it up with the band a little bit, rough, and sound check. Well, he said, "I'm going to play that song tonight." We were down in Cajun country, had a Cajun feel. He said, "I'm going to play that song tonight." So the band is like, "Oh, here we go." He played it, and it was like, they never heard it before. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay. Well, we came back, and I think it wasn't long before he went in the studio and recorded it, which all the songs I've ever had cut, I've cordially not been invited to the session, okay? But Alan said, "You can come and sit out in the room out there, the break room or whatever." So I was there when it was cut, but is that where it was cut? At the castle?
The castle.
Yeah. So, it's like, well, how'd it go? So anyway, we were just happy. We wrote so many ballads, and although it had Neon Rainbow, we were just happy to have an upbeat song. We really were. And so...
Most writers write ballads. Yeah. That's what we love.
That's what I love. And so anyway, they released this thing like the second or third single, I think, off A Lot About Living, and it just blew up. I saw a thing on Google today that said this was its 4th week. Back in '93, this was its fourth week at #1, and of course the video blew up too. And it said
that was a huge video.
Yeah, that video really that helped. And
the timing on videos was great for Alan.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was actually the first dance mix I'd ever done.
Oh, I heard it the other day. I heard them play the dance mix the other day on a countdown or something. Anyway, that article said that song has been streamed 325 million times.
Wow.
Golly, Pete.
It's like, I remember Richard Lee one time saying, "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue" was like having a single every year.
Oh, wow.
It's like having a single every year. And that's been 32 years ago.
Oh, I couldn't.
So God been good to me where I was concerned.
Yeah.
Well, both writing it and recording it and producing it, did y'all think that y'all had a song of the year on y'all's hands?
Oh, Lord, no. I didn't.
No, I don't think so.
I think we had ideas that they were hits. Mm-hmm. I think we thought "Don't Rock the Jukebox" was a hit.
Oh, yeah.
But I know y'all must have on some of the other things as well.
But
not to the extent they became hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, and this really was the production side of things. I was just young enough and naive enough to think I could pull anything off, but which I've learned different. But my thought was, if I can make a record with instrumentation that before you ever hear the singer, you know who it is.
Yeah.
And that was where that rhythm section was put together. And I think because I was such a huge Johnny Horton fan and Tommy Tomlinson's twanging guitar, that's kind of where the Brent thing came from. You know? And Alan would walk around going dar 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 dar. So Brent started, copying that, and that became a strategic piece of the sound. So
that is amazing to me because I'd never made that connection, but that makes sense now that you say it. The Johnny Horton connection. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is, man. So you're pulling from your childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny introduced my parents.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to tell this story.
No, I wouldn't be here without Johnny Horton. My dad played in his band.
Wow.
How about that?
So
You didn't know that, Dylan?
I did not know that.
So that's where I came from.
That is incredible. Well, you became Alan's, career producer. What was it like filling that role?
It was so easy, and I keep saying this, and I don't. And this is not that there's been a lot of acts I've worked with, which I've enjoyed the process, but with him, it was so simplistic. It was uncomplicated, and we would show up at every time we'd make a record. We'd show up without any songs picked,
Yeah.
just a box, and that's where we'd start. He'd go, "I got this. What do you think about this?"
You'd sit on their bus. You sit on his
Yeah,
bus,
I sit on
right?
the bus with him. That's pretty good. I said, "Let me get Brent. We'll chart it up real quick." And we'd get through that one, and then he'd go, "What do you got?" I'd go, "Well, I've got this idea." Sometimes you go, "I don't think I like that." And I'll go, "Okay."
Move on.
But it was an easy process and just so much fun,
Well, didn't you sort of encourage Alan too on Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning? He was thinking maybe he didn't want to release it.
I think he was backing up to it because of the sensitivity of the subject. And his comment was, "I don't want people to think I'm taking advantage of something terrible."
Right.
I said, I think you're going to be a point for healing for a lot of people if you, and that was, but he had it on that paper that he keeps folded up, and he put all the pieces of paper out there. And when he started playing it, I went, "Oh my God, what in the world?"
Yeah.
And I not that I don't think my comments necessarily motivated him to do it, but I just said, you've got to record this. I said, the world needs to hear your perspective on this, and that's kind of where it stopped.
Amazing.
Well, that support was more valuable than you think, Keith, because let's take you out of the picture a minute. Alan was so humble. He may not have ever gotten to the point that he would release that to the public because it was so personal.
Yeah.
And he thought that it could be mistaken as taking advantage of a terrible situation.
Yeah.
He didn't know that. Your support was monumental to him to that. And which also is touching a theory that I was coming in my mind last night thinking about all these things. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to kind of just touch on it.
Yeah.
Early on, we were writing, like, the first song, it wasn't a hit, was Blue Bellied Woman and Redneck Man. Okay, if you think about it, Keith, we were dealing in fiction, okay? Which a lot of songs do, but there's a lot about the songwriting process that has to do with an act like Alan becoming an act like Alan.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm talking about. So we move things forward with fiction and conjuring up scenarios that Alan could be believed in, like here in the real world, and other things we could mention. But you know what you did? You gave him the confidence to start talking about his life.
Well, we did.
Okay.
We did right about it.
Well, see, but the thing about it, Jim, it's huge because he was at a point in his career where he was at a point where people would listen to him and they wanted to know more about him, the Alan. And these things catapulted him to stardom one record at a time. And it gave a big, mythical, but real image for who Alan Jackson became.
Well, when the first time we got together and he played me the song "Home," he didn't think that song was strong enough to be a single, which later it was when he became. But I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I'll give you another example. And Keith, you can probably help me more with this. I wasn't there. But Al and I wrote a song called Secondhand Smoke. It was a country hit. Alan, I said, did we make the album? He said, no, I think it sounds like a George Strait song. I think we wrote a George. And he didn't put it on the album. Now, all these years later, a new artist named Alex Miller has recorded it, and it's out there streaming now. It's like, thanks a lot, Chief. Thanks a lot, bud. Anyway.
But you know, it's interesting how all this stuff goes together because all these things are happening unbeknownst to us who are involved. Even with your great production, Keith, what you were just doing it real well.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think I would have been a record producer without Alan.
Yeah, I understand.
Alan turned me into a record producer.
Yeah,
because
I get it.
he just was relentless about, I want you to cut some sides. I want you to cut some sides. I want you to cut some sides. I just kept pushing him back.
We won't talk about that story.
Which one?
Well, the first album. You had a co-producer.
Oh yeah. But anyway, he had more confidence in me as a record producer than I had myself.
Oh, big time. Big time.
I thought I'm going. And my biggest fear on that third album, which I kind of helmed that record, I thought, you know what, this thing's going to flop, and I'm going to get blamed. That's all. And of course, that record had Chattahoochee on it, so after that took off, I thought, okay, I can breathe a little bit easier now. It's going to work. But production is important, but it's more about who that guy is. Yeah. That's the most important part.
Yeah. I told Alan one time he was. Once in a while, I would play on stage with him, but I had my sound turned down on my guitar because he threatened to put me in the mix. Anyway, so he was on stage, and when Who Says You Can't Have It All was out on the stage, the stage would go dark, and this single light bulb would drop down to the stage. And during that whole song, nobody got up. I'm standing at the back of the auditorium. Nobody got up. It was silent as it could be. And after the show, we were on the bus, and I said, you know what, Alan? I said, man, people really listen to you. They really, really do. It was quiet as a mouse in there.
Yeah.
And I said, you need to do right because they're really listening, you know. Don't screw it up.
Yeah. Well, all of these things I'm talking about that I say is a theory, I think I only say theory because a lot of it's coming from my brain, but there's so much evidence. And it's not to take a thing away from Alan. If he wasn't the guy he is, he couldn't have been the superstar he became.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took all of these things. And it's the kind of stuff that makes superstars, you know. But we went from fiction to reality. and then people believed it,
And
it gave them things to believe that they could believe about him.
and he
Fascinating.
tapped in. Well, I heard it in home that he could write about back. I heard it then, but he wasn't confident enough in it then. I don't think.
I think what I noticed was the imperfection in his writing, but that imperfection was the language of the everyday man.
Yes. Okay. Let me
You
just
talked
say
to
this.
me about that. You
First
actually
album.
did.
First album, we wrote a song called "She Don't Get the Blues," which I got off of a soap opera. This woman said, "I don't get the blues, honey. I give them." And so I said, "How about this idea, Alan? She don't get the blues, she gives them." So we started writing it, and he said, "Oh, there's somewhere he uses the wrong word," and I started to correct him, and I thought, "Wait a minute, it sounds right." I forgot what the word was right now, but I thought, no, it's wrong, but he makes it sound right. And so from that point on, that was like a second or third song. From that point on, I thought, he's like Merle Haggard. He's speaking the language of the common man.
Yeah. Well, we've only got a few minutes left, unfortunately, but I'd like for each of y'all to be able to get one more little story in on Alan and or maybe something y'all wrote together, the story behind it. But I'll start with you, Keith, if you want to give us something.
Well, I keep going back to this dance mix of Chattahoochee because the dance mix combined with this water skiing video blew that thing
And the engine.
sky
Yes.
high. So here's the funny story about the engine thing. So Alan, pretty much just trusted us to get a mix together and get it out to him. Well, I thought this thing needs something up in the front end of it. So I brought my Harley up to the studio
I didn't know this.
and I put a mic at one end of the alley. This is by Ronnie's place. I put one mic by the front of the alley and a mic by the back of the alley and had somebody stand out in the street to make sure I didn't pull out and get hit by that side street from So I'm throttling, going down, across backboard. I got about 5 or 6 runs. And so I told John Kelton, the engineer, I said, I want this up at the beginning. When that drum cadence starts, we want to hear this Harley revving up, So
Genius, Keith.
I don't know if
that's
it's
great.
genius, but
Wow.
this gets better. So anyway, we got it into the track, and I thought, man, this sounds really good. So I called Alan and go, I'm coming out to play this mix for you. So I go out there and I give him the cassette, and he listens, and he goes, how come you didn't use my motorcycle? And I went, Well, what became even funnier about this is the water skiing video put that Harley at the front as he's coming out of the water. It's not a motor for a boat. It's a Harley. So every time I see it, I don't know what anybody else knows picked that off, but that's so that was.
I thought it was a boat motor.
No, it's
I
a
did.
Harley. It's my Harley
like-
revving.
Golly.
Okay, Alan, we'll put it on the cover of the album. How about that?
But he was more concerned that I didn't, because he had a bunch of Harleys.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I come out here and go, let me borrow one of your bikes? Anyway, it ended up on the record. So that's my story.
That's a great one. Well, Jim, what do you got?
Well, I was sitting in that same office out in Green Hills, and it was all pine. And I looked up, and there was a hole in the wall where somebody had a picture hanging up there. And I said, there's a hole in the wall. I went, okay, wait a minute. And I wrote hole in the wall on Alan's notebook. So the next time we got together, I said, listen to this, Alan. I said, there's a hole in the wall. And I swear, he said, where a nail used to be. A nail that held the picture of the one that once held me.
God.
Wow.
That's our
Wow.
favorite. That's our favorite song
Yeah.
that we ever wrote together.
I love
Not
that.
Neon Rainbow, not Chattahoochee, but Hole in the Wall.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I love it. So,
That is incredible.
wasn't a single, but hey,
Who said you can't have it all? That's a killer song, man.
Okay,
That's
Terry
killer.
Terry Garr had a nylon or whatever stocking hose commercial, and it said, "Who says you can't have it all?" So I said, "Alan, how about who says you can't have it all?" And sadly I had gotten divorced, and I was living in a little condo, and it had a patio table and 2 chairs and a light bulb hanging down. I mean, it was bare bones. My mattress was on the floor. It had a light bulb hanging straight down. And I was telling him about that apartment. You could take spaghetti and throw it on the wall and wipe it right off. It was full gloss, and that's where that song started.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, Roger, I know you got a good story.
Well, not really. I can't top these two. I just want to say I appreciate Keith and Alan giving me opportunity to be a small part of such a tremendous career.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all witnessed this Alan Jackson phenomenon, and nobody's more impressed than I am with what it's done for so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't just buy groceries for me. He bought houses for us. He bought.
Wow.
I mean, this guy has.
Yeah.
He's blown us away with his career, and gave us careers actually.
Yeah.
To see that happening from the inside is just
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
amazing.
I've got cold chills all over me thinking about it.
I think what's even another piece of this whole thing that's fascinating about the three of us is that I was a pup learning. I was the tape copy boy, and while these two guys are in another room writing songs, so that's where really our relationship first started. Me coming out of the tape room after cutting and splicing tape, and these two guys, Jim would come up once or twice a month, and they would write. So I could be outside listening, trying to figure out how does this stuff work, But I think that's pretty fascinating. that
We've got stories for days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
This will just have to be a part 1. We'll have to come back in and do it down the road. But I tell you, there's no doubt that the three of you, along with Alan, coming together just built this phenomenal career, a foundation for a phenomenal career.
And there's been a lot of other writers too, because one
goodness,
good thing about Alan and Keith, they were smart enough to look for the hits.
Yeah.
They didn't have to write them. They wanted hits. They wanted phenomenal songs. If they could write them, that's good, but they went and got them from other people.
Yeah.
I heard Monday Morning Church, and I thought, geez, I wish I'd written that song. That's a great song. And y'all knew it, I mean.
Yeah, I think Jeff Carlton pitched me that
Did he?
for Aaron in Aaron Enderlin. And when I heard it, I went,
Yep.
wow.
Yeah.
So, but I always save my shots with Alan. I just don't send him everything that comes in, but maybe 1 out of 30 songs works. So
Yeah. I think, from my perspective, the only problem Keith ever had was getting Alan off the lake and into the studio to do the final vocal. Am I right?
yeah.
He's like, well, if I can ever get Alan off the lake, off that boat.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but I want to tell all three of y'all, thank y'all so much for coming in and doing this and for everything y'all have done for not just
Thank you.
Alan's career, but country music as a whole, all the songs
you,
that y'all have written and produced. And
Thank you, buddy.
And thank y'all for coming in and sitting down and sharing these stories. And it was
Been a
just so much
pleasure.
fun.
You can see what a pleasure it
Oh,
is
yeah.
for
Absolutely.
us to share these things with you and your listeners.
When was the last time the
Keith,
three of y'all were in the same room together?
I don't know.
Probably in April Blackwood.
Probably.
When it all started.
A long
That's
time
where,
ago.
yeah.
Well, I'm so glad
Golly.
that I was able to be a part of getting y'all back
Yes,
together and telling
yes.
these stories.
Yep.
This has been, just for me to sit here and listen, has been the privilege
huge.
of a lifetime. But
This is huge.
I thank y'all, and we'll definitely have to do it again one day down the road and get some more stories. And just thank y'all. Thank y'all
you.
for doing this.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.